What's going on?
I love to choose these webinars and especially the all-day ones, right at a critical moment when I think the market is going to have some kind of, it doesn't have to be volatile up or down. It just needs to be a market that will demonstrate intraday. We'll be looking at live charts, the kind of patterns that we're looking for all the time. You were talking just a moment ago about, in fact, let me just go to what you're talking about just to show this is live. This is exactly what we look at. This is the way we do it. And what's exciting about this is that we will do it for the full day. So it's, it's 7 hours of intense work. But I answer the questions right. Every single question that gets asked, we spend time going through it because pretty much what is asked by one person, other people are also looking to have the answer. So you spoke about crude oil. So yes, some of the easier techniques that I've developed, and almost everyone in their software package is able to draw straight lines. Maybe you can't do the arches or the circles. It doesn't matter. You can always invent something that reminds you about it, but the straight lines are important. And look at this. You spoke about crude oil, something that I've done ever since I used to hand chart back in the 1970s are trend lines and the channels, and within the channels what happens. Well, look at crude oil. Crude oil made a low. In the Chapman wave, we're always looking for an identifiable low, and a buy signal will be upgraded to a buy mode, meaning that you should go to at least 4 higher peaks to the peak D. And then other things can happen. You use your analysis to see what happens at D. But the objective is to get you from that starting point to at least the D. So now what we're looking at is crude oil makes a low back around about the 23rd, 24th of May. And it goes peak A, peak B, peak. And then there's not a peak all the way through until it gets to the 16th of June. It makes a C, pulls back. And now look at this trend line, this green line, and there's something I developed years ago called the Chapman Wave Inside Track. That becomes, when it's on the upside, it becomes a repellent zone. Every time the price magnetically gets to that line, you think, oh, this is great, it's going to break out. I don't know what it is about trend lines, but look how it just refused to break out, and this little dashed pink line was your reversal line. Even today, when it skyrocketed all the way from, we mentioned that it starts in the 62. Today it is 76.22, hit that trend line and pull back. I mean, these are simple techniques that you can use all the time. I love doing that. It keeps you in the trend. The other thing that keeps one in the trend is, look at this green line, the 9 period over the 14 period moving average, still strong. Price hasn't broken. It's touched the 14 and it keeps moving up. And then I'll teach how you can draw a trend line below. And if you take it from the very low bar, very often you're going to get a trend line that skyrockets right through the price. I'll show where the perfect place to get the next trend line is. So you were talking about crude oil, so I thought I'd just show that whole bunch of techniques, even within this. There's another pattern that I call the falling axe pattern. This is right here. I'll just demonstrate quickly, because these are the patterns that we're looking for. And if you have a template that says these are the patterns you can look for, when you identify, here's crude oil, makes an all-time high way back in the 84 area, back in 2018, plummets down. You remember, it actually went to minus 40, the contract itself. Anyway, it turns around, it comes back, it goes peak A, peak B, and look at this pattern on the left here. It makes lower highs and much lower lows, and then it finds a base. And then when it breaks out above this downtrend line, I have a technique that I call the Chapman Wave one-to-one expansion. And here we go, one. So if crude oil is going to do this one-to-one expansion, I think we're looking at that 86 level coming up in 2021. We've got to be careful about that. So I want you to just demonstrate live right on the air what we're looking at. Here's the Dow. The Dow's doing exactly the same thing. It has the same pattern, that Chapman Wave, what I call the falling axe formation. Just I like to nickname these things. Really what it is, it's an expanding, declining cone, just too many words. So here's the Dow. Look, same pattern. Here's your inside track repellent zone. Here's your sharp declining move, goes down to 33,271. We've been long since March of last year at the exact low of the year. And we added yesterday morning. Why? Because here's this one-to-one expansion from that falling axe formation. I drew it in there, blue. The pink is the expansion. We almost went to it's actually within pennies of that expansion that I was looking at. It's in leg C. There's a good chance. I'm always looking for the Ds that we should pull back and then go to a D. So these are live things. This is exactly what we're talking about. I spoke to you about the S&P. Or was it just a couple of days ago? I said the S&P is in leg B. If at any point from July 1, if there is a higher high than June, it extends as leg B. Now, you know, I said I'm always looking for Ds.
Yes.
Well, B means that even if from today we pull back really sharply, you have made a new candle high in July. You cannot get a peak B confirmation until the very last trading day of August.
I know. I heard they say that this morning on your program, man. That's interesting.
I mean,
yeah, right.
It is interesting because you've got the Dow at peak C. It's already made the peak C. That means it can go to a leg D, and yet the S&P 500 stocks are early in their upcycle. You know, it's just, I love this. So these are very simple techniques. And then what's exciting about it, Tom, is that everything that we do, the first half, we go through all the patterns. The second half of the day, we start to actually trade, and we're looking at those patterns. We're trying to do it live. It has a 1-minute chart. It's the same thing that I'm talking about. It applies. Look, there's your peak D in the 1-minute chart. It's stalled. There's your down arrow. It's gone sideways. These are patterns that repeat over and over. And what's exciting about it is that they will then have 2 weeks to practice, and then 2 weeks later we get back and we put it again live for 2 hours, and we see what can you improve on, what have you really nailed, what do you want to improve on. I'm excited. It should be very good.
All right, there's no doubt. And folks, it's very easy to come into. Come over to our website. You're going to see right under featured content. You get July 14th, the 28th. You just hit that checkout button. Basil, have a great one, a safe one. We look forward to the show tomorrow.
Thank you, Tom. You too.